What is up, everybody? So I did a video on this topic already. I put it up and it generated a ton of interest. It generated a lot of comments. It was very popular. But then I realized I wasn't going to be able to continue doing the question and answers with Ken Katz how I initially intended. So I took the video down because I talked a lot about it and about asking people to send in questions for Ken Katz. And I didn't think it was fair to people to continue to waste their time sending me questions because I wasn't going to be able to continue doing it like that at that time. And I'm still not able to continue to do it. However, this was a question that a lot of people wanted to know the answer to. So when I took down the video, I didn't actually delete it. I hid it. And then yesterday, I was going to edit it down and put it back up because you can do that with a YouTube online editor. I was going to edit it down to just the question and answer portion of the video because I did talk about a lot of other stuff in it. But doing that, I accidentally deleted it. So now I'm going to put it back up, and this time it's going to stay up. But I will say this. I am not here to try to attempt to change anybody's opinion on anything. I am here to provide the information that is being provided to me. And then it is up to you to make up your own mind on whatever it is that we're discussing, whatever it is we're talking about. In this case, it's Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey. So I'm here to provide you information that Ken Katz provided to me. You then digest that information and then make up your own mind whether you choose to believe it or not, or better yet, go do some research on your own, read some books, watch some videos, watch some more documentaries. There's a lot of information out there on the Making a Murderer case, the case of Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey. There are a lot of extremely intelligent people out there that talk about this case all of the time on just about every platform. So never let anybody sway your decision just because they don't agree with you, they don't agree with the way you're doing things, they don't agree with your response, they don't agree with the way you see things. Never let anybody sway your decision. Always make your own. Digest the information and then come to your own conclusion. And if somebody else doesn't agree with you, if somebody else doesn't like that, that's okay. They made their own decision based on things that they've read, and they've watched, and they've digested. Not everybody is always going to agree on everything, and that's okay. That's why I do this. It keeps things interesting to see the debate going back and forth. But the question, this was the first one I ever did. This question I asked Ken Katz. Now this video is going to stay up no matter what. The question was, how were Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey convicted of the same crime in two different ways? Now, Ken Katz gave a very detailed answer, and we're going to go over it. Examples. At Stephen Avery's trial, it was stated, now this was from me, at Stephen Avery's trial, it was stated that one person and one person only was responsible for the murder of Teresa Halbach. In Brendan Dassey's trial, it was stated that Brendan killed Teresa Halbach, or at least participated in her killing with Stephen Avery. In Dassey's trial, it was stated that she was killed in the trailer. In Stephen Avery's trial, it was said that she was killed in the garage. At Stephen Avery's trial, it was stated no blood was found in the trailer because she wasn't killed in the trailer. But in Brendan Dassey's trial, it was stated she was. Could you clarify that? That is what I asked Ken Katz. Obviously, and this is his answer now, obviously the Brendan Dassey case and the Stephen Avery case were separate trials. The state sometimes tries co-defendants together, but only if one defendant does not give any statements against the other. If Brendan and Stephen would have been tried together, it likely would have required two juries, and evidence only against one defendant is therefore heard, only with that person's jury present. That was impossible with these cases because Brendan Dassey implicated Stephen in so many statements. You'd be bringing jury members in and out of the courtroom constantly. So there needed to be two trials. The first crucial fact to know is that Brendan's statements to police. Remember, there were at least 6 statements given by Brendan Dassey to law enforcement, not just the 3-1 statement, the March 1st statement. were not admissible in the Avery case because of the confrontation clause in the U.S. Constitution, which guarantees Stephen Avery's right to cross-examine Brendan Dassey about his assertions. Brendan was not going to appear at the trial, so the statements were excluded from evidence. Avery trial. The physical evidence presented in the cases were similar, except Avery challenged most of the evidence and Dassey challenged almost none of it. I gave the closing argument for the state in Avery. How I chose to characterize the evidence was important. Avery originally had a fourth count, false imprisonment, that the court dismissed after the state's case. That count required the jury not only to consider physical evidence, but also all of the circumstantial evidence relating to false imprisonment. The jury is instructed that they consider inferences that can be drawn from the evidence in reaching their conclusion. Drawing inferences from evidence requires the attorney to tell the story with his closing. In other words, because you are asking the jury infer facts from other facts, the closing is basically, here's what the facts show happened. Although not required to show motive, the task of arguing to the jury, here's how the evidence fits together, is usually how that's achieved, a narrative closing. But when you look at Avery's case with 3 counts, first-degree murder, mutilation of a corpse, and felony in possession of a firearm, another option presented itself, no longer needing to tell a story. In Avery's closing allowed me to use a topical closing argument. I broke the case into 13 uncontested facts. Then, one by one, I showed the jury how we proved Stephen Avery guilty with those 13 facts alone. As we were not allowed to tell the jury about Brendan Dassey's confession, the closings between the 2 trials were always going to be different. If we tried to argue the same evidence in both trials, we would have a mistrial. Dassey trial. AAG Tom Fallon gave the closing in Dassey's case. Tom is a very experienced trial attorney, and I trusted him and Norm Gahn implicitly. During the trial, an unexpected development occurred. On cross-examination, Dassey said he read the James Patterson book, Kiss the Girls, and got the ideas for his confession from that book. It was totally made up, of course, and Fallon drove that point home. What that also allowed was Fallon to impeach Brendan with a prior inconsistent statement from his May 2006 statement to cops. We promised to not use the May statement in our case in chief, and we stuck to that agreement. But when Brendan floated a whole new fake story, we had no choice. I have no idea how Tom wrote his closing. He was left as an experienced attorney to deliver it, and I injected very little input. Everybody in the courtroom felt sorry for that kid, the prosecution included. I made many offers to resolve the Dassey case. I concluded there was no way Brendan Dassey would have committed these acts without the prodding of his uncle Stephen Avery. He could have been out in March of 2021 if he accepted our offer. But you all should already know that Brendan Dassey rejected any attempt to settle this case. Brendan's grandpa, Alan Avery, only spoke to Brendan one time when he was in custody. He told Brendan not to take any plea bargain because it hurts both of you guys. Alan had exposed what we thought all along. The family was only going to support Stephen, not Brendan. Ask yourself, who was on Brendan's side? The answer is clear: nobody. Conclusion: I understand the confusion expressed by the public about advancing 2 different theories of the case, but each was based on the evidence allowed in the case, with no attempt nor need to reconcile all of the evidence from the other trial. Now, I understand what he's saying here. It still makes absolutely no sense to me. It makes absolutely no sense to me that to get a conviction from two people that allegedly did the crime together in 2 separate trials, you have to say that they did it differently because you can't argue the same facts twice. That makes absolutely no sense. It makes no sense that that is how the law works. He couldn't argue what he argued in Stephen Avery's case and Brendan Dassey's case, or at least that's my understanding, because that would have resulted in a mistrial. Bananas. It's 2 different juries, 2 different courts, 2 different trials. I get it. I 100% get that that's the law. I just think that that law is stupid. It makes absolutely no sense. If so-and-so killed someone here and so-and-so helped them, you have to argue that this person killed them over here and not here because you can't argue this? Bananas. Absolutely bananas. What do you think of it? Also, Ken Katz has a book, Avery, The Case Against Stephen Avery and What Making a Murderer Got Wrong. You can pick it up on Amazon. It might still be in bookstores in your area. It is a very interesting read, no matter what side of the fence you are on. I've read it. It's good. It didn't change my mind on anything, but it may offer you some more or new information that you didn't know previously. It's a good book. It's a good read. Very interesting. Doesn't matter what side you're on. You'll probably get some enjoyment out of reading it. But what do you think? What do you think of that particular law? I don't know if that's the same law across the board in the United States and other places. Seems bizarre to me. Let me know what you think. Leave some comments below. I hope you're having a good day, and I will see you again soon.